the danger of globalized bifurcation. It is clearer today than ever before that post-World War II international order has completely collapsed. It would be naive to believe that the ongoing Russian-Ukraine war and the Middle East conflict are the last wars to reshape the international order, or to think that this sort of bloody wars will be limited to continental Europe or the Middle East. This sort of ongoing horrific wars, on the one hand, and the glowing Washington's and also some other part of the world as well, rhetoric about the democracy versus authoritarianism on the other hand, will quicken the division of the world into two poles. The central domain of this polarization lies in the intense competition and even confrontation between the United States and China. Some recent decoupling or relocation will likely crystallize an already threatened bifurcation of the world, resulting in two confrontational blocks in 10 key areas. Because time constraint, I will not elaborate on these 10 areas, but just wanted to share the list with you. Number one, two trade and investment systems. Number two, two industrial chains and the two supply chains. Number three, two oil, natural gas, and the new energy lines. Number four, two credit card payment systems. Number five, two financial and currency systems. Number six, two IT, 5G, and internet systems. Number seven, two satellite navigation systems. Number eight, two outer space exploration programs. Number nine, two military and ideological blocs, or simply a new Cold War. And finally, number 10, a possible hot war in the AR era. Now, this dark scenario, of course, not inevitable, and it may not result in full-fledged decoupling, but some of these decoupling or decoupled blocks have already emerged, some even competed, and others may accelerate in the years to come. Ironically, the world in which we live should be a multipolar world. Neither the unipolar nor bipolar structure serves the interests of the international community. Also, paradoxically, trends towards global bifurcation have been on the rise at the precise time when the most serious issues we face can only be resolved through the recognition of our interdependence. The greatest challenge the world faces are not what some politicians have called a showdown between democracies and authoritarianism, but climate change, public health, economic disparities, both within and between countries, sustainable development, arms control, and peace. Now, this leads me to my second point, China's response and the strategy toward a US-defined polarized world. If we are following the Chinese leadership's rhetoric over the past decade, Beijing has always called for multilateralism, international cooperation, or what Xi Jinping called shared destiny of humanity. And they place a much emphasis on international institutions, including UN, APEC, and G20, and many others. Now, I just attended two international conferences held in Guangzhou, in which President Xi Jinping, Vice President Han Zheng, and other senior leaders attended and gave speeches just the last few days, 4 or 5 days. It is interesting to note that very few US officials and scholars attended these meetings, though they were invited. But many former heads of states in Europe and Asia attended. Beijing has apparently worked hard to improve its relations with the EU and ASEAN countries and reach out to global South countries. Now, China has made a valid point that the US coalition, including most noticeably the Indo-Pacific strategy and the emergence of what Chinese called Asia version of NATO, with Japan and South Korea, has aimed to contain or target against China. Under the circumstances, China has no option, according to Beijing leaders, but maintaining and improving the ties with Russia, Iran, Saudi, and others. It is not a secret that Washington has already seen China as the most formidable rival or enemy. Now, my third and final point, my fear and hope of US-China relations in the near or midterm future, basically roughly within 10 years. Now, my deepest fear is the risk for AI war in the Asia Pacific. Recent events in the Taiwan Strait have led to an outpouring of international concern regarding potential war between the United States and China. It is troubling to note that analysts have now given more thought to when the US and China will engage in war rather than whether it will happen, as my good friend Ryan HAASS at Brookings pointed out recently. Many analysts now also assess how war would likely unfold. Except for the later Dr. Kissinger and several others, very few strategic thinkers have highlighted the fact that the extensive application of AI in warfare is arguably inevitable, given that the US and China are the world's two AI superpowers. Therefore, we need to really pay attention to this issue. I'm so glad that the previous speakers mentioned the danger of the AI and also how important we should recognize this factor. In fact, the geopolitical fault lines are beginning to form, with AI technology being a central domain of competition and conflict. Now, such a conflict will likely escalate from a limited conventional or plausible war into a rapidly spiraling high-tech war, along with miscalculations and misinformation. And this will be a potentially horrific machine-to-machine war resulting from what we call the lethal autonomous weapon system, known as LAWS, L-A-W-S. Now, one should reasonably perceive that if the Russia-Ukraine war is the last war of the 20th century, then a war over Taiwan Strait between China and the United States will be the first war of the 21st century, the first AI war in human history. Now, it is imperative for the international community, including citizens of the two AI superpowers, China and the United States, and also particularly also the Asia Pacific communities, to work together to address the highly consequential challenges relating to AI in our time. Let me also share with some hope, especially in light of the recent successful Xi Jinping Joe Biden summit in San Francisco. As we know, one of the achievements, as the White House released and the Chinese government also acknowledged, that China and the United States have reached some consensus on AI governance. Based on what I heard, this will be an agreement probably announced sometimes in the next few months. They want to choose, the working group is still working on that. The main message, the agreement, is about maintaining human control over the use of nuclear weapons in the era of AI. This is certainly a critical important move in the right direction, but one visit and one summit will not change the overall status and the vicious tensions of the bilateral relationship, which is largely, in my view, structural. And the 2024 US presidential election, as some early speakers mentioned, will likely make the tension of bilateral relationship more toxic. I want to conclude by echoing my close friend and mentor, the late Henry Kissinger's recent assessment of the imperative to prevent a hot war in the era of AI. He believes that the US and China today are almost equally powerful. This has hardly happened in contemporary world, not like during the Cold War. Actually, US was far more superior than the Soviet Union. But Kissinger believes that now it's really a unique period that the US and China today are equally powerful. And that neither country could win a total war or destroy the other. This will absolutely be a war without a winner. Both countries, therefore, need to find an entirely new way to coexist before too long. The stake is so high, and the international community should be keenly aware of this unprecedented challenge. Thank you so much.